For millennia, the four nations have lived in harmony. A peace made possible by the Avatar. The one person with the ability to master all four elements.
So they've got Avatar Kyoshi instead of Avatar Roku. This doesn't bode well. Howdy all, I am Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome to my reviews of Netflix live-action Avatar The Last Airbender remake. Because that's what this is, a remake. It is not a direct, clean adaptation of the beloved cartoon from 20 years ago. If you're anybody coming in here complaining, why are you so upset about a children's show? Because Avatar is for all ages. It appeals to everybody. A lot of people grew up with it. A lot of people found it at times in their lives when they were looking for good entertainment, and it is held up over the 20-year period it has existed. Here's the thing. This show, soulless, empty, does not have the heart, does not have the humor, the life, the energy that the actual original Avatar The Last Airbender has. What we have here is a show that is sour, dour, angry, upset, and depressing. What made Avatar The Last Airbender so delightful, so engaging, so able to connect with its viewers was that it had a heart and a soul, and it was mixing humor with drama and tragedy, making the characters feel very real. What we see here in this first episode already is a character assassination of these individuals, and I say individuals because they were individuals. They have distinct personalities and behaviors. What we see here is what happens when people who do not care nor understand the source material decide to adapt something and also try and put the modern day social justice warrior identitarian twist on it. What we're going to go through now is episode 1. It is, frankly, a waste of time for the first nearly half an hour. This thing's a disaster. I can't wait to show you how and why. Let's get to it. We begin this disaster with a prologue that lasts 20 minutes. 20 minutes, as I said a moment ago, that could have been better spent flushing out and developing the actual main cast of this story. Sokka, Aang, Katara, Zuko, they are shadows of what they are in the original version. These 20 minutes could have given them the actual interactions and scenes much needed to bring them to life. Instead, we get a bastardized version of Aang. We get a Sokka that has no soul. We get a Katara that has actually her agency taken away from her. And we get a Zuko that isn't really Zuko. We'll get to that. We begin with Rando Earth Kingdom spy soldier escaping from the Fire Nation with their plans for worldwide invasion. He eventually gets captured after some really bad earthbending CGI fighting, where he confronts the current Fire Lord of the time. And in this moment alone, I knew right away they had zero understanding of bending. Because at one point, the Fire Lord simply grabs dude by the wrist and sets him on fire. And this is a problem that's going to persist throughout the rest of this episode. For a moment, it looks like they understand how bending works, and then they're just treating it as though it's just some sort of, I guess, magical ability where they're just firing fire or using the wind to lift up or making the water just go bloop or the earth go, It's just, there's no rhyme or reason why it works. Whereas in the original version, it's based on movement and martial arts. And they leave out a lot of key moments that are in the real beginning of this show in the original version that make you understand how and what bending is. So the fact that you don't understand how bending works means you don't get it. We finish this little bit here where the Fire Lord reveals, we let these plans leak out because we want the rest of the world to think we're going to attack the Earth Kingdom, when in fact we're going to decimate the Southern Air Temple and the Airbenders because we know that the next Avatar is going to be an Airbender, and we want to make sure he gets killed. We then get the actual sort of introduction you always get in the original show where they talk about the four nations and that and how the Avatar protects balance, except in this version, Avatar Kyoshi is center stage, whereas in the old version, it was Avatar Roku, who was representative of the current Avatar mentor relationship that's going to be for Aang. That's what's missing here. They're missing the actual story. You can tell right away by having Kyoshi be front and center that they're not going to respect the lore, because they're going to do it in favor of intersectionalism. After we get our fake introduction to the lore, we return to this prologue period, 100 years before the story starts. Aang at the Air Temple, where he can fly now. Hey, he flies now. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? If you look at actual Avatar: The Last Airbender lore, Aang cannot fly without use of his glider or spinning airball that he can sit on. Or if you want to go even way down the line, when he's hiding Fire Lord Ozai, having a whirlwind under him. That's how Aang can fly without assistance. Aang doesn't just go, wee, I fly now. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in The Last Airbender. But no, we don't care. We don't give a crap how to make this shit actually look accurate. Long story short, Aang has a nice little conversation with Monk Gyatso, who in the original version was a father figure, a mentor. Now they're just best friendies. It's kind of weird having an old man be best friendies with a little kid. Kind of weird. They're best friendies, and they have this nice little conversation about, you're special, this and that, and we quickly go to the point where Aang doesn't know he's the Avatar yet. See, there's a problem already. Now, because in episode 3 of the actual series in Book of Water, we learned that Aang knew he was the Avatar because some of the other monks let it slip. And Monk Gyatso was helping him adapt and adjust to this reality by being a father figure. Not by just being, hey, buddy, you're a show-off. You're so good. The other monks who are arriving to the festival, having the Comet Festival, which I don't remember a Comet Festival being a thing in the show. The comet is only important to the Fire Nation because it boosts their power, which they do acknowledge in the show, given that at least they acknowledge that the comet has a purpose, not just being something hanging in the sky. Well, they decide they have to tell Aang, they have to force it on him because he has to get ready to save the world from war. That's the thing. The world didn't know the Fire Nation was going to declare war on it. Another broken piece of lore. It was a surprise attack across the board, thanks to the power and the boost of the comet. But no, now the world knows they're going to war, and they need to send Aang off to train. Now, originally, Aang was supposed to be sent off to be trained, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to be a kid, which is why he runs away. In this one, Gyatso spills the beans, your Avatar, you need to go train to go fight a war, which is why now Aang then mopes around a little bit later and decides to run off with a fake yip on Appa. Well, after he leaves, the Fire Nation literally jetpacks themselves up to the Southern Air Temple and proceeds to commit mass genocide. We get a final moment where the Fire Lord fights Gyatso in a really, again, lame interpretation of how firebending works, where he's just kind of walking through the air stating, "You might have won on another day, but thanks to the comet, we will win now!" And just shoots fire from his hand. Stands there and just shoots the fire from his hand. No movements, no gestures, no motions, just, that's all he does. It's over then. And meanwhile, as it's all going on, we get the actual classic scene of Aang and Appa being swallowed up by a storm and nearly drowning, where Aang goes Avatar mode and seals them in the ball of ice. Although it's all out of order, because in the original show, We don't know when the Southern Air Temple fell. We just know that Aang ran away from his responsibilities as Avatar and then lost control of Appa in a storm, and Avatar mode kicked in to preserve him. There, prologue over. Let's actually finally start the show and not give any proper character development to Sokka and Katara.
You were waterbending again, weren't you?
Don't worry. No one could see me. Not that it matters.
Of course it matters. If anyone from the Fire Nation finds out you're a waterbender...
No one from the Fire Nation has approached the village in years. Besides, there's nothing to see.
We now arrive at what should have been the beginning of this show, what is actually the beginning of Avatar The Last Airbender, the Southern Water Tribe village with Katara and Sokka. Or are we? Because in fact we begin with Katara secretly practicing her water bending in the abandoned Fire Nation ship, which is supposed to be off limits because of booby traps and the like. She never goes there in the real show. Doesn't go there till Aang wants to go in there and have some fun and accidentally set off the booby trap that lets Zuko know exactly where they are. But no. This is an adaptation. It shouldn't have to be faithful. Yes, actually, it should be faithful, especially to the characters. What we have now here with Katara and in a moment Sokka is a complete abandoning of who they are. They have completely taken away Katara's agency. She has no passion. She is meek or calm. Unlike actual Katara, who has a fire in her, despite being a waterbender. Katara wears her emotions on her sleeve. She doesn't have any fear of expressing her emotions. She has no fear of telling people, shut up, I'm not going to take your shit. This one is a Whammons who is burgeoning with her anger at the patriarchy, can't stand to be put down, but takes it and never pushes back. At the same time, Sokka is a jerk. As opposed to the initial Sokka in the original series, who was a sarcastic asshole, this guy's just a pure asshole with no redeeming qualities. We're supposed to believe, he had the responsibility of protecting the tribe thrust upon him by his father when he was just 13, and that's why he's such a hard ass. No, it should be that plus the fact that he uses sarcastic humor to diffuse his fear over not living up to his warrior father's ideals. After Katara's hiding her water bending, we get a bastardized scene of Sokka instructing the kids, who usually in the show won't all take a pee break, none of that comedy here, about how to defend the water village, but then they have to go fishing, and we get to the actual fishing scene, but not the fishing scene. See, in actual Avatar: The Last Airbender, Katara is already proficient in rudimentary water bending. She can grab the water. She can do the flows. She can control it a little bit until she loses it if distracted. She has no concentration, no focus. In this one, she can't do anything, and she gets yelled at by Sokka for even attempting to water bend, because apparently water bending isn't allowed because the Fire Nation will come kill you if you water bend out in the open. It's retarded. What we're robbed of here is their entire initial brother-sister interaction, which shows they have a give-and-take relationship of basically giving each other shit. Sokka will accuse her of being a weak woman, and she will push back by saying, you shut up. I'm not going to wash your dirty socks all the time. Because after they go down the rapids and lose their boat, well, in the original lose their boat, in this one, it just kind of drifts away. Katara throws a temper tantrum when Sokka makes fun of her for being a woman. And she throws a tantrum where her passion makes her water bending go out of control. Because remember, bending involves motion in actual Avatar: The Last Airbender. You don't just go, and make things happen. Her motions cause the iceberg behind her to crack and then Aang's ice ball to surface. In this one, she just, while she's pulling so gently the boat back, makes Aang's ice ball crack open and the pillar of light shoot up in the air, which Zuko will see. Aang doesn't wake up. Aang stays passed out. They have a lame-ass conversation about taking him back where Katara passive-aggressively manipulates Sokka instead of telling him to shut up. As opposed to the actual show where Aang is awake, they're all interacting, there's a lot of fun, a lot of smiling, a lot of humor, and Appa is there. The joke that Appa's a flying bison but isn't flying is done, and they go back to the village as a unit where we get some banter and some exchange to grow their personalities and their characters. That would have been great in this show if they hadn't wasted 20 minutes with a prologue that ruined Aang's backstory. Meanwhile, Zuko, having seen the Pillar of Light, has a bastardized version of his conversation with Uncle Iroh about concerning hunting the Avatar. This whole scene is about exposition with a few familiar lines dropped in there. They just wanted to make sure Iroh said, "Calm down, have some jasmine tea." That's all they wanted to do. Instead, it's Zuko being a pale imitation of himself with no fire. He just seems to be a whiny little bitch. They even cut out all his training on the ship later on. They have a moment later on where Iroh says, "Oh, you're perfect, you're great," instead of, "Yo, you need to train more. Your forms are sloppy. It comes from the legs, not just the thrust," and that kind of shit. They cut all of that out. We get back to the village. Aang wakes up, having had zero interaction with anybody, goes outside, decides to play. Instead, he gets attacked by this asshole Sokka with a spear in his face. And then we have a freak out about where's Appa? They try to introduce him to the village, and it's just a disaster of bad exposition. They even have him break out the bison whistle, which doesn't come into play for a long-ass time. Appa then flies in, and we, as I said, get a bunch of exposition about, oh, look, flying bison, where it's fake comedy. It's not the actual delightful humor of the original show. Instead of the original, where Sokka doubts Appa can fly, but then accidentally causes him to fly with the yip yip, and then thinks it's really cool while pretending it's okay. They take all of that out. They take away Sokka's soul, his humor. He's just a jerk. And it doesn't change for the rest of this episode. We now get Gran giving the Avatar Legend speech of exposition about how there are no airbenders and there's nothing here and there and that. And that how all the airbenders are dead. You're the last one. It's at this very point where this abomination of a show severely deviates from what makes Last Airbender magical and what helps build Aang's character, Sokka's character, and Katara's character. They triple down on the fact that Aang knew the war was coming and ran away, as opposed to didn't know the war was coming. In the original show, Aang had no idea war happened. He had no idea war was coming because in the original show, as I said earlier, the Fire Nation was a surprise attack on everybody. Not a feint to have them prepare for war in one place while they attacked the Southern Inner Temple. None of that. It didn't happen that way. Oh, it's an adaptation. It doesn't be right. No, it has to be right. We're doing the history. The history must remain the same. You can change other things along the way, but as long as the characters are right, it works. But this is all wrong because now Aang's motivations are incorrect. His motivations in the original were about helping to help get Katara to waterbend and to find out what's going on in the world. Not, I have to stop the war. I have to live up to my expectations, everybody has of me as the Avatar. It's bullshit. So this whole exposition they give about, you're the last airbender. There's been genocide. Everybody's dead because of you. It begins what I think is going to now go on to be the constant criticisms leveled at Aang about his failure to be the Avatar when the world needed him, instead of just unknowingly leaving everybody behind, and then the guilt he carries in that way. Now, it's going to be a different kind of guilt. It's going to be forced guilt. This is bullshit. This isn't Aang. This isn't Avatar. This is people who don't get it. So Aang's going to run away and go sulk, and now we're going to get another lesson in how this show doesn't understand how bending works.
I'm the only waterbender left in the village. They've killed all the others. Sokka just doesn't understand. I'm a warrior. I should be able to do more for our people.
So after being told all the airbenders are dead, Aang wanders out to go sulk, and we get a Katara pep talk about how great the Avatar is, but it's completely out of place, and really, it's in character for her originally, but not in this situation. Because in the original one, Aang isn't depressed. Aang isn't having a sad sack moment. He's just looking to have fun. He's looking to get reacquainted with the world once he realizes it's been 100 years, and he wants to go penguin sledding. Because right now, instead of having a mopey, we're all sad, wham moment together, Aang and Katara go penguin sliding. They go having some good times. Then they go in the abandoned ship and they set up the booby trap. Instead, after having wham pep talk time, they go inside the ship and Katara moans and whines about how I want to be a warrior too. The patriarchy's keeping me down. That's what we get here. And then we get a lesson in how bending doesn't work. In the real one, Katara thinks that just because Aang is a airbender, a bender of any kind, he can teach her water bending. When in fact, in the actual show, one bender cannot teach another bender of a different form how to work the bending. They can't do it. It doesn't work that way. An airbender cannot teach a waterbender water bending forms. They're different styles completely. But in this one, Aang just goes, if you concentrate enough and you go with the movement, you can make it happen. Yeah, that's how it works in this. You can just say, oh, just do that, fine, because they're erasing the entire thing that Katara needs professional waterbender training from the Northern Water Tribe. They've just completely removed that here. If you just go with the flow, you can do it. And she goes with the flow, and she makes the little ball, and she sends it over there, and it plops. It's retarded. It's stupid. It's not how it works. That's one of the things that's going to go down as my phrase for this show. I say it a lot in other streams and videos, but I'm really going to say it a lot in this show. That's not how it works. We then cut, with more bad editing, by the way. The editing is atrocious in this. We cut to Zuko and Iroh on the ship. I mentioned this earlier, where now Zuko's getting ready for the big fight he thinks he's going to have with the Avatar, who's been training forever. Iroh says, you're perfect, you're ready, you're best ever. No, that's not how it is. Iroh is very critical of Zuko in terms of his lack of commitment to proper form. And we don't even see him train or get ready for it. It's just, you're good to go. Let's have some more tea. They just want to say the famous lines. That's all they want to do in this. Soulless, empty. We return to the village, and out of nowhere, Grand seems to suddenly figure out that Aang is the Avatar. That's right. We don't go through a couple of episodes of everybody getting to know each other, and then Aang having to admit after their escape from Zuko on the ship later on that I'm the Avatar. I'm sorry I lied to you. No. We now learn out of nowhere that Aang is the Avatar and that he abandoned everybody, and Sokka, the asshole, needs to basically go, you abandoned everybody. Everybody died because of you. That's what we get from this Sokka. We don't get the joke. We don't get the sarcasm. We get an asshole, plain and simple. Zuko arrives, and what happens then? We get pale imitations of the original show. Sokka and Zuko face off. Zuko does kick his ass like he's supposed to, but Sokka doesn't get the extra hit in with the boomerang. It's just a complete ass whipping. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Zuko is a better warrior than Sokka at this point in the series. But then, instead of Aang having left earlier, in the original show, Aang left. He left. Said, guys, I don't want to cause you guys trouble. I'm going to leave. Bye. No, instead of Aang leaving and coming back, Aang is right there as the fight breaks out, and he then says, okay, fine, I give up. Which is true. Aang does give up to protect the Water Tribe, but not in this fashion. There's more to it. There's displays, there's interactions, there's actual emotional connections that we feel at this point, but we don't get any of that. Aang gets captured. He gets on the ship. We get a made-up conversation between him and Iroh about, you're not going to save the day. I'm sorry it has to be like this, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really pay attention because it's not real Avatar. It's bullshit. I moved on. Meanwhile, Katara and Sokka come to the agreement suddenly that we have to go save Aang. How are we going to do it? Hey, let's just get on Appa. Instead of the whole humorous way that Sokka figures out how to get Appa to fly while Katara can't do it, Katara just knows how to do it. Never once did we hear yip yip. given as the command that Katara would hear it. As in the real show, we heard Aang say it around them once. Now Katara girl bosses her way to it. So now we see that Katara can just figure shit out. No problem. Yet they actually continue to steal her real agency moments from the show. Aang eventually escapes using airbending to grab a key. He goes into Zuko's room like he does in the original show, but this time Zuko's not there. He finds Zuko's journal that doesn't really exist in lore about the avatars and takes it with him for some reason. I'm sure that's going to play something stupid. Or they focus on Avatar Kyoshi in it. Remember, Kyoshi, she's the important previous avatar, not Roku anymore. And Aang escapes on his glider. He gets out of there. Zuko, there's no fight, there's no nothing. Zuko's just shooting fire at him without even moving. Just shooting fire at you. That's what he's doing. It's not even exciting or engaging at all. They just abandoned choreography. Here comes Appa with Katara and Sokka. They save Aang. Zuko shoots a fire. Because Katara suddenly learned how to go with the flow, she's able to summon a wall of water to block Zuko's fire blast, and they are saved and they get away. As opposed to the original real version where Aang saves everybody by going Avatar mode. That's right. They're happy. This is such a weird convergence of events in this show and how they are trying to have events play out. They're happily stealing Katara's agency moments and abandoning them so that she can steal other people's moments to look cool. Aang is supposed to save the day here, not Katara, and then reveal he's the Avatar. It's not how it works. Then they have a quick conversation about what do we do now? Oh, I guess we'll go to the Air Temple. Blip, we're at the Air Temple. Now, the actual events of the Air Temple in the real show took an entire episode to go through. As we saw a little bit of Aang's past. We got the feeling of how alone he feels now that everybody's really gone. Oh, but Adam, the prologue in this took care of that. No, it didn't, because it altered his backstory. We're going to get more of the Air Temple next time. We have to. They haven't even found Momo yet. But they jump right to him finding Gyatso's bones and having his flip out. Now, Aang flipped out in the original as well when he saw Gyatso's remains, but this time, instead of Katara giving a speech about family, about finding a new family, we're here for you now. Now, Aang just has memories of Gyatso saying, you can do it, you'll be okay, while Katara and Sokka cower in a corner during his Avatar rage. And then when it's over, just a hug. Once in a blue moon, this would have been probably hailed as good show don't tell. But no, you've just stolen Katara's agency yet again. She is the one that talks him down. It's important. It's a part of their growing relationship and what it's going to become, what it means. Nope, forget it. We're done. Then we just have Aang do a speech about, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm ready to be the Avatar now. I'm ready to stop this war. Because that's his motivations now. I'm just going to stop the war. I'm serious. I am not fun-loving Aang. I'm not here to go penguin sliding. I'm not here to go to all these events that I want to go to around the world. Because that's where that's what he's supposed to be doing right now. Going to these fun little events around the world while realizing the world is in turmoil and it needs him. And then the guilt builds. That's when the guilt builds. When he learns that while he's trying to have fun, while he just wants to be a kid, the world needs him to be the Avatar. Not the guilt of, you let everybody die. You have to go fight the war. No, that's not how it works.
I don't know where this will all lead. And I don't know if I have what it takes. But the one thing I do know is, I'm the Avatar.
And there you have it. Episode 1 of Netflix's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender. This thing is already off to the worst possible start. And let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Before the cast started shooting their mouths off, I was convinced this had a good chance because it looked right, it smelled right, it sounded right. Guess what? That's all it did. It only looked right and sounded right. It has, in fact, zero soul. Every single character is not even a shadow, it's a wisp of what they're supposed to be. Katara is a girl boss in training. I hate to say that because real Katara is a great character. She was a heroine in her own right. She had a personality, a behavior that made her endearing, even though sometimes she was infuriating to where she would be a stubborn biatch. Now, though, she's a whammies girl boss. Calm and collected, never freaks out because you can't have a woman pictured as freaking out. Feminism 101. Sokka's a jerk. This isn't fun-loving, sarcastic Sokka who's going to learn his lessons as he goes out and has the adventures. This guy is a jerk. He's an asshole with zero redeeming qualities. Aang is not Aang. Yeah, he smiles occasionally, but there's no joy. Part of what made Aang and the show in general fun was the joy the characters exuded from everything they did, the innocence, which would soon be overshadowed by the reality of the war-torn world they live in. But no, right away, let's just get depressing and sad that everything is horrible. There's no fun in this show. Original Avatar is fun because they let you feel that excitement, that joy. This one doesn't care. Doesn't care. It's out to destroy the characters. It's out to destroy the lore. I'm not even going to get into Zuko right now. Simply going to say he is a panty waste. I want to get my honor back and be the heir. That's it. You get no emotion. You don't see his frustration because apparently he's perfect as he is right now. I'm sure later on he's going to get embarrassed and torn down like the real Zuko did, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same because they're going to change the backstories. They're going to alter it all. They've already started here by barrel-assing through a bunch of episodes and skipping important moments that define these characters. Well, I will continue forward. Episode 2 review. Be on the lookout for it. I will get to it in probably another day or so. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you later. Until then, take it easy. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to reach out to me, please email me at theranernerd@gmail.com for all channel business purposes. I am on Twitter now, mostly for promotion and sharing of videos, maybe a little shit stirring here and there. Who knows? @TheRenNerd. You can also find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can see me on Rumble and Odyssey under the Renaissance Nerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.